There was no big launch event, no stadium reveal, no Elon Musk tweet storm, no countdown clock ticking away on a live stream. Just a price posted online, and within an hour the automaker's own website couldn't handle the traffic. 10,000 orders in 60 minutes. Not for a hypercar, not for some flagship model, but for an electric SUV priced so low that industry analysts had to double-check the number. $15,000. That's it. While Tesla scrambles to hold its pricing steady and BYD fights to defend its crown, Toyota just quietly rewrote the rules on what an EV is even allowed to cost. And here's the part that should really worry its rivals: this wasn't a one-time stunt. It's a strategy Toyota has now repeated 3 times in 12 months. This is a company most people still associate with the Corolla and the Camry, and yet it's been quietly rolling out electric SUVs cheaper than a used sedan, doing it again and again until it stopped looking like a discount and started looking like a declaration of war. So today we're digging into Toyota's cheapest EV ever, why it's spooking Tesla and BYD, and why this might just be the opening move in a much bigger game. Before we get into it, if you want to catch stories like this one first, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. The quiet giant strikes again whenever people talk about EVs. 2 names usually dominate the conversation: Tesla, the brand that built the category, and BYD, the brand that's now outselling it. Toyota rarely comes up in that conversation. For years that made sense. Toyota built its electric reputation slowly, almost reluctantly, leaning on hybrids like the Prius while the rest of the industry sprinted toward full electrification. Critics called the company hesitant, even behind the curve. But behind the scenes, Toyota wasn't hesitating at all. It was positioning itself. And across 2025 and into 2026, that positioning turned into a string of launches that quietly rattled the entire EV market, culminating in a car so cheap it shattered the assumption that a modern tech-loaded EV has to cost $30,000, $40,000, or $50,000 to make any sense. Meet the BZ3X. The SUV that crashed a website. The car at the center of all this is the Toyota BZ3X. Sold in China through the GAC Toyota joint venture. When it launched in March 2025, it started at 129,800 yuan, around $15,000, for what Toyota called its first pure electric SUV in the 100,000 yuan class. That single number did all the damage. Within an hour of the reveal, GAC Toyota's servers buckled under the flood of orders, and more than 10,000 buyers had already locked in a purchase before the dust even settled. The anticipation had actually been building for months before that. Blind pre-orders opened back in December 2024, starting at just under $14,000 before Toyota had even confirmed a single spec, and people lined up anyway. Toyota wasn't finished pushing the price down either. A year after launch, in March 2026, the company cut it again to 99,800 yuan, roughly $14,500, branding it Toyota's first true sub-100,000 yuan pure electric SUV. That's not a rounding trick. That's a legacy automaker deliberately undercutting its own launch price just to keep the pressure on. Part of how Toyota managed this comes down to platform sharing. The BZ3X borrows its chassis, motors, and overall drivetrain from the GAC Aeon V. A car GAC already builds at scale, and Toyota simply drops in its own battery packs and software. Instead of engineering a brand new EV platform from the ground up, Toyota leaned on a proven local one, cutting both cost and development time in the process. Not a one-off. Toyota's whole cheap EV lineup, the BZ3X, isn't fighting this battle alone. Toyota's BZ3 sedan, co-developed with FAW and BYD and built on BYD's Blade lithium iron phosphate batteries, had its price cut to 93,800 yuan, around $13,500, with range stretching to 616 km, or about 382 miles. Then there's the BZ5, a fastback coupe SUV measuring 4,780 mm long, which launched in June 2025, starting at 129,800 yuan, roughly $18,000. It also runs on BYD's Blade battery tech and puts out up to 268 horsepower. Compare that to the Tesla Model Y in China, which starts at 263,500 yuan. The BZ5 undercuts it by more than half, while still charging from 30 to 80% in about 27 minutes and offering up to 630 km of range on its top trim. 3 separate Toyota EVs, 3 separate price points, all landing under $22,000, all launched within a 12-month window. That's not luck. That's a company that decided affordability was the fight worth winning first, and it's now winning it on multiple fronts at once. Why this scares Tesla and BYD more than any flagship could Tesla has spent years chasing the promise of a truly affordable EV without quite delivering on it in most markets. BYD dominates on price at home but is still working to earn trust and margin overseas. Toyota just walked straight into the exact price band both companies want most, armed with something neither of them can fully match. Nearly a century of manufacturing credibility, a dealer and service network in almost every country on Earth, and a reputation for reliability that no marketing budget can buy overnight. When a first-time EV buyer in an emerging market is choosing between an unfamiliar brand and a badge their family has trusted for generations, that trust becomes the deciding factor, especially once the risk of choosing wrong finally feels small enough to take. Toyota also isn't starting this fight from zero infrastructure. It already runs factories, parts suppliers, and dealerships in nearly every country with a road network built up over decades of selling the Corolla and the Hilux. Tesla, by contrast, still has to fight for permits and build new plants market by market. BYD's strength is concentrated mostly in China, with a fast-growing but still young export operation. Toyota doesn't need to build that global reach, it already has it, sitting idle and waiting for cheap EVs to fill it. Cheap EVs. Two very different worlds. It's worth pausing on how differently cheap gets defined depending on where you're standing. In the U.S. right now, the title of America's most affordable EV belongs to the 2026 Nissan Leaf, starting just under $30,000 with over 300 miles of range and its own Tesla-compatible plug. That's considered a genuine breakthrough in a market where the average new car now sells for close to $50,000. And yet $30,000 is double what Toyota is charging for the BZ3X in China. Different battery costs, different subsidies, different supply chains, sure. But it shows exactly why Toyota's Chinese pricing playbook is so unsettling to watch from the outside. Toyota isn't guessing at what a sub-$15,000 EV looks like, it's already selling one by the tens of thousands every single month. And the company has made clear the BZ5 in particular won't stay China exclusive forever, with preparations already underway to push it into other markets across Asia and Europe, aimed squarely at middle-class buyers who want an EV but have never been able to justify one. Meanwhile, the ground under Tesla and BYD keeps shifting on its own. In 2025, BYD overtook Tesla in pure battery electric sales for the first time, 2,026 million units to Tesla's 1.64 million, while Tesla's overall deliveries slid about 9% for the year. But 2026 has already flipped that fight back and forth. Tesla actually outsold BYD in battery electric vehicles during the first quarter, only for BYD to retake the lead in the second quarter with over 557,000 BEVs sold against Tesla's roughly 480,000. Two giants trading blows every 90 days. Into that chaos steps Toyota, not fighting for the lead in raw EV volume, but quietly picking off the one customer both rivals desperately need to grow, the person who wants an EV but has never been able to justify the price. The solid-state wildcard solid-state cells currently run somewhere between $600 and $800 per kilowatt-hour versus roughly $130 for lithium-ion. And Toyota's own roadmap doesn't expect price parity until around 2030. That means the first solid-state Toyota, likely wearing a Lexus badge, will launch as a premium halo car, not a $15,000 SUV. But the technology behind that halo car will eventually trickle down into everything else Toyota builds, including the cheap EVs already worrying Tesla and BYD today. And Toyota isn't racing alone here. Mercedes has already put a solid-state Powered X prototype on public roads, reportedly covering nearly 750 miles on a single charge. Startups like QuantumScape are chasing the same breakthrough with backing from Volkswagen. Whoever gets there first and cheapest doesn't just win a spec sheet, they reset the entire industry's idea of what a full charge should feel like. Toyota's bet is that by the time that happens, it will already own the largest, cheapest, most trusted EV customer base on the planet to sell it to. Zoom out and the picture only gets more uncomfortable for the competition. In 2025, Toyota, including Lexus, sold a record 11.32 million vehicles worldwide, the sixth consecutive year it's held the title of the world's best-selling automaker. Tesla delivered about 1.64 million vehicles that same year. BYD sold around 4.6 million. So yes, on raw electric sales, Toyota is still far behind both of them. Its own battery electric volume sits under 200,000 units globally, a fraction of a single % of its total output. But that's exactly why the BZ3X story matters so much. Toyota isn't trying to out-EV Tesla and BYD on their own terms yet. It's using its enormous manufacturing scale, its trusted brand, and a multipathway strategy that blends hybrids, plug-in hybrids, and EVs together to enter the electric race exactly where it hurts the competition most: on price, without cutting corners on tech. Why Toyota still isn't going all in on EVs if Toyota can build a $15,000 EV with LiDAR and adaptive driving assistance, why hasn't it gone fully electric everywhere? Because Toyota doesn't chase trends, it reads markets. Hybrids still made up around 42% of Toyota's global sales mix in 2025, while pure EVs stayed under 2%. Across huge parts of the world, rural India, Southeast Asia, swaths of Africa and South America, charging infrastructure simply isn't reliable enough yet for a family to bet their only car on it. A hybrid sidesteps that fear entirely. It charges itself, needs no plug, and has been proven for nearly 3 decades since the original Prius launched in 1997. Toyota's hybrids, from the Camry to the Corolla, also carry a track record of low maintenance and batteries that comfortably last 7 to 10 years, something no EV nameplate has had time to prove yet. Toyota is betting that hybrids remain the practical bridge for most of the world while EV infrastructure catches up, and that by the time it does, Toyota will already be sitting on the cheapest, most trusted EV lineup on the market, ready to scale overnight. That's the quiet genius of the whole play. Every BZ3X and BZ5 buyer today becomes a future solid-state customer tomorrow, already loyal to the Toyota badge instead of shopping around when the real upgrade arrives. Internally, Toyota has described its solid-state program in 3 phases: performance optimization through the mid-2020s, pilot production in the back half of the decade, and a full commercial launch in 2027 to 2028. A prototype vehicle was already demonstrated back in 2020. Years before Tesla or BYD said a public word about their own solid-state ambitions, though durability, cost, and manufacturability kept it out of showrooms until now. Industry watchers remain cautious, and for good reason. Toyota has held this same 2027-2028 target since a technical workshop back in 2023, and skeptics keep asking the obvious question: how many times has a car company promised a battery breakthrough that quietly slipped another 2 or 3 years? Fair point. But Toyota's track record here isn't nothing. This is the same company that made hybrids mainstream when everyone else was still betting on pure gasoline, and it took nearly a decade of patient, unglamorous engineering to pull that off. The first solid-state application is expected to land under the Lexus badge rather than Toyota itself, letting premium buyers absorb the early sticker shock while the technology matures and the cost curve bends downward. Once that curve bends far enough, expect the same formula that built the BZ3X to repeat itself: take the premium tech, strip it down into an affordable shell, lean on a local supply chain, and undercut everyone else in the room. Tesla and BYD are both racing toward the same finish line from the top down, chasing flagship range and performance first. Toyota looks to be building its solid-state future from the bottom up, starting with the millions of ordinary buyers who just want a cheap, reliable way into an EV, then handing them something extraordinary once the technology finally catches up to the price tag Toyota already promised them. That patience has paid off for Toyota before. It let Honda and GM chase hydrogen dead ends in the 2000s, while the Prius quietly became the best-selling car in California. It let Toyota watch the first wave of EV startups burn through cash on unproven platforms, then step in years later with a battery supply chain, a dealer network, and a service reputation none of them could match. The hybrid strategy isn't hesitation dressed up as caution, it's the same move, played twice. And there's real business logic underneath it too. Every hybrid Toyota sells today still turns a healthy profit and keeps factories running at full tilt, funding the billions being poured into solid-state research without needing outside investors or government loans the way younger EV makers do. Tesla had to bet the entire company on electric from day one. BYD had the Chinese government's backing to absorb years of losses. Toyota doesn't need either luxury, because hybrids are already paying the bill. That's the part critics miss when they call Toyota slow. It isn't behind in the EV race, it's financing its own entry into that race with a technology everyone else wrote off a decade ago. And it's in no hurry to prove them wrong.